Today I will be showing you a mattress stitch seam in garter stitch fabric. A mattress stitch seam is used along vertical seaming edges. In garter stitch, the seaming method is a little bit different. It's more similar to the seaming method of reverse stockinette. I've completed a figure 8 start to line up my cast on edges, and I'm ready to begin my mattress stitch seam. Garter fabric, similar to reverse stockinette, has alternating frowns and smiles that are interlocked. In reverse stockinette, these occur on every single row. In garter, they occur every other row. Every ridge is the equivalent of 2 garter stitch rows. To seam this so that it lines up and is invisible across the seam, we have to do the same method we did in reverse stockinette. And we have to seam the equivalent of 1 selvage stitch on one side and 1.5 selvage stitches on the other side, so that the smiles and the frowns interlock across the seam. So I've begun with my figure 8. My figure 8 ends over here, so my first seaming pickup is going to be on this side, and you decide whether you want to use the smiles or the frowns. I will use a smile on this side. So my first smile, coming in 1 selvage stitch over, is right here. So I'm going to pick up that bar. Then I come to this swatch, this side. And since I used a smile on this side, I need to use a frown on this side. My first frown is my first frown is right here. And I could use this. This is the selvage stitch. That would make a less bulky seam. So if I was working with really bulky yarn, worsted bulky weight yarn, and I wanted the seam to be as minimal as possible on the inside, you could use this frown, the very first frown on the side of the seam. I'm going to go 1 in, so this is the equivalent of 1.5 selvage stitches on this side. It's going to make a bulkier seam, but it will be more sturdy. And then I move over to this side and I get the smile. Now, seaming in this way makes a seam stitch every other row. So this type of seam is not as sturdy as a mattress stitch seam in stockinette, because only every other row is getting seamed. But usually in garter stitch fabric, that it shouldn't be too much of an issue, because garter stitch fabric is so dense and squishy that that the fact that you're essentially only seaming every other row it's not as much of an issue as it would be in some other fabrics. So I'm going to do this across for a few more. Frown, the next frown. Oops. And I'll do a few more So the next smile and the next frown, and then I will pull it tight and you can see what it looks like. Oh, let me loosen it up a little. Now, the other issue with this, doing this in garter like this, is that your seaming thread will be more visible. So if I was using the same yarn as the swatches were worked in, it would be virtually invisible. But so you can see, because I'm using the red, it shows up pretty clearly. But that maintains the pattern across the seam, and I'll show you the wrong side. So there's the wrong side. It's quite sturdy. It's a little bit bulky because you've got a 1 selvage stitch and 1.5 selvage stitches there, and it's in garter, so it's quite bumpy. But it's not too bad. And then there's the front again. So that is how you seam garter stitch fabric using mattress stitch to maintain the pattern across the seam. Thanks for watching.